Hey guys, I hope this Monday, March 29th finds you happy and well. Although it's now officially spring, we're still experiencing some cold weather. It got down to 28 degrees here last night, so we're still shivering a bit yet. I've chosen a spring scene for my backdrop, so for those of you who, like me, live in a cold weather climate, well, we can dream of warmer things to come. By the way, I don't think I've ever said where I do live, but you might have had a clue because of the Indiana University hoodie I was wearing during my first video. Anyway, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, sometimes referred to affectionately as Naptown, Indianoplace, or Cornfield with Lights. But I think most of us who live here would rather it just be referred to as Indy, as in the Indy 500, for example, which obviously takes place here every May. For you sports fans, you undoubtedly know that Indy is really hopping right now with the men's NCAA basketball tournament, every game of which is being played right here in town or somewhere close by, because of an abundance of caution on the part of the NCAA due to COVID-19. Wow, it's really hard to calculate just how much this pandemic has changed our lives, isn't it? Well, speaking of life changes, this is my 7th video, which means I'm 6 weeks into the journey. Although it's way too early to see many major changes, I do recognize one in addition to the weight loss. Speaking of weight loss, I'm down to 268 from the starting point of 291, so progress is definitely being made. I only lost 1 pound last week, but that's okay. If I could average losing 1 pound every week, I'd definitely be okay with that. We'll talk about someone here in a minute who actually did just that. The major change is urological. In one of my early videos, you may remember me saying that I had some urological difficulties, some of which were frankly too embarrassing to talk about on TV. I've had an enlarged prostate gland for quite a few years, like a lot of men do at my age, which causes a frequent need to go to the bathroom and urinate, right? That's especially annoying, having to get up several times in the middle of the night and interrupting your sleep. So what has happened only a few weeks into this is a drastic change in the need to urinate nearly as often, which allows me to sleep better and longer between trips to the bathroom. This was a totally unexpected change, but very welcome, as you can imagine. One of the more subtle changes I've noticed is that it's easier for me to wake up and get out of bed in the morning. Being a morning person rather than a night owl, I have childhood memories of always being the first kid up in the neighborhood, full of energy, and wondering why no one else was outside ready for play and tackling the world, so to speak. Even as an adult, I've always done my best work in the morning, whether that work be physical or mental. Anyway, I'm noticing a little bit of return to my younger days, with more energy and a willingness to do things which require some physical effort. This week I want to talk about a fellow YouTuber who has successfully converted to a whole foods plant-based diet and is reaping the benefits, including a 100-pound weight loss. He goes by the name of Plant-Based Gabriel on YouTube, and I recommend that you check out his channel and specifically the video entitled Minus 100-Pound Vegan Weight Loss, Before and After. He's also written a cookbook called The Plant-Based Diet for Beginners, which of course is available on Amazon and other outlets. His story is very interesting in that he had not always been overweight, and in fact had been a starting long snapper for the University of Nebraska football team until he suffered a broken back and had to undergo many different medical procedures and therapies during which time he was physically inactive most of the time, gaining a lot of weight in the process. All of this culminated in a 6.5-hour back surgery, after which he remained inactive until it healed. Like most of us with weight problems, he tried everything he could think of to lose the weight. Oddly enough, as a student at the University of Nebraska, he was majoring in animal agriculture. In other words, livestock production. And since he was still there, he asked some of his professors what he should do to lose weight. Why he would consult them, I will never know. But anyway, he says one of them told him to eat more meat. What a surprise. And less plant food. He tried virtually every kind of carnivore, protein-rich, and carbohydrate-poor kind of diet without success, as you can imagine, and thought he'd try just about everything until he came to the realization one day that the very guy he was consulting for weight loss was grossly overweight himself. Then in his research, he happened upon the work of several doctors who advocate plant-based eating, including the work of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who, as you know, I've mentioned before on this channel. After researching whole food plant-based eating for a while, he decided to give it a try himself. One reason being that eating the exact opposite of what he'd been taught, in other words, cutting out the animals and eating more plants, is something he had not thought of or tried before. After starting to eat whole foods plant-based, he did have to make some adjustments, like learning how to eliminate oils and other calorie foods, like seeds and nuts, in order to lose weight on the program. And as I mentioned in my first video, this is something I'm having to do myself, and I'm still in that process. It took him almost exactly 2 years, but he lost 100 pounds, averaging about 1 pound lost per week. And he says he's kept the weight off, though it's entirely possible to put the weight back on even on a whole foods plant-based diet, because he continued eating the things he ate in order to lose the weight. In other words, he made the oil-free, mostly nut-free way of eating his permanent way of life. He advocates eating foods like rice, beans, potatoes, oats, corn, and quinoa that are full of fiber, low in fat, high in water, and high in carbohydrates. As he puts it, these foods will, quote, fill you up without filling you out, unquote. That they will help you to stay full and keep your weight under control for the long term. One of the things that motivates him to keep eating whole foods plant-based is that the last thing he ever wants to happen is for him to need another back surgery. And boy, I can sure relate to that. Though I've never had to have back surgery, not yet at least. I've had many other surgeries, all of which could have been prevented had I started eating whole foods plant-based a long time ago. He warns that we need to keep it simple and not overcomplicate things. Start and stay with the basics that you like, and stay stocked up on those foods you like, and that it's not necessary to have a pantry stocked with all kinds of exotic foods, spices, etc. Eat only what you enjoy, and it's okay to have the same thing every day as long as you enjoy it and that it's whole foods plant-based. Sounds like great advice to me. I have to say that I'm already taking some of his advice, in that I have many of the same things every day, but some of that is because I just haven't experimented or learned to cook that many different kinds of meals yet. Remember, I told you in the beginning of this process that cooking isn't my strong suit, and that the learning curve for that will be very steep for me. Gabriel chose to finish his degree while also pursuing his own research into sustainable and ethical agricultural practices that promote health. Excuse me. After getting his degree and losing all the weight, Gabriel makes videos here on YouTube and runs his blog entitled Plant-Based Gabriel, which is focused on helping individuals and families transition to a plant-based diet and vegan lifestyle. In addition to producing helpful recipes and videos, Gabriel also loves working on his vegan and organic vegetable farm. Well, that's about all she wrote for this time. I have to say that I'm very pleased with my progress thus far. I don't have any idea if any of you can see a difference in me physically yet, but I'm hoping you'll let me know if and when that happens. I want you to be totally honest, though, and not make a comment just to try to buoy me up. By the way, it's probably a little hard for you to tell if there's much difference in my weight since I just have a cameo on the screen. At any rate, I hope you'll keep watching, participating, and let others know about the channel if you think they might be interested in doing this and or following my progress. As always, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell that pops up so you'll be notified each week when I upload a new video. Have a great week, everybody.